Hey everyone, Andy from WagerTalk.com. We are going to go over UFC Fight Night, Dariush versus Tsarukyan. And it's a good card. I got to tell you, I think there's a lot of live dogs on this card. This would not surprise me in the slightest if there are upsets in this one. So we're going to break down this card, go over the fighters that we like and who we don't like. And when we, about halfway through, I'll give you guys a nice little discount here on a 3-day pass. That's a special that we're running this week. So we had a great 7-day pass special last week, and it was fantastic. Had a really nice profitable week, including a nice cash on our best bet on PFL. We only had one play in there, cashed our best bet, and we're hoping to do the same this week. So let's just get right into it, and let's take a look at the first fight, which is Jamey-Lyn Horth versus Veronica Hardy. And I will tell you that Veronica Hardy looked really good in her last fight. I get it. However, the fighter that she was fighting is terrible. It's just like Juliana Miller is awful. She's one of the worst female fighters I've seen in MMA, and I wouldn't take that much away from Hardy's performance. She did all the right things. Not being able to finish Miller, I don't know. I guess I would have liked to have seen her get the finish, but she dominated like she should have, so I got to give her credit for that. And then when we look at Jamey-Lyn Horth, what we're looking at with Jamey-Lyn Horth is she fought another fighter that I'm not very high on, Haley Cohen, who I just do not think is very good at all. And I cannot believe that they let her into the UFC. Dana got a little smitten with the blonde-haired, big smile, good on the mic fighter, except she's just not a very good fighter. So what do we take away from this? Well, both of these fighters like to clinch. They like to wrestle, push up against the fence. And I think the only way to play this fight is to just take it to go the distance. I don't see a finish in this one. Jamey-Lyn Horth has a lot of finishes on her record, but they're not against UFC caliber opponents. And Hardy is a UFC caliber opponent. And if Hardy is not finishing Juliana Miller, she's not finishing Jamey-Lyn Horth. Jamey-Lyn Horth is undefeated. She's tough. She put on a pretty decent performance last fight. So what I would do here is I would just take this fight to not go the distance. And that's where I would go with this one. All right, next fight, Wellington, Turman, and Jared Gooden. Oh, man, Jared Gooden's terrible. It's not like Wellington Turman is awesome, but Jared Gooden is he's 22-9. He, used to fight in the UFC, all right, and then they bring him back in his last fight against Carlson Harris. He looked awful. Held his hands way down at his hips. The only time he brought him up was when he threw a punch that didn't land, and then Carlson Harris takes him down in rounds 2 and 3. It was just a bad look, a bad fight. So I'm not high at all on Jared Gooden. Now, I'm not very high on Wellington Turman. I think if your nickname is the Prodigy, you need to at least have a little bit of upside. So I just think Wellington Turman is going to take this one. His wrestling and takedowns, it's just going to lead to long stretches of Turman being in control. And I just don't think Jared Gooden's going to get out of it. So what I would look here for Turman is just to work the wrestling and to work the clinch. I think it's going to be a pretty boring fight. You could also look at this one, to go the distance. So he loses to Petrosky, loses to Randy Brown, but give him credit. He beats Miesha by armbar. At least he beat Sam Alvey. Thank God. I know it took him a split decision. Everyone's knocking out Sam Alvey, and instead you got Wellington Turman, who's just struggling to get finishes against Sam Alvey. So that being said, Jared Gooden is just no bueno in my book. So I would not expect a very good performance here from Jared Gooden. Ihor Potieria and Rodolfo Bellato, and what we saw happen. Sorry, I clicked out of here. What we saw, Bellato, he lost in Contender Series, and they give him another shot to come back. And he takes care of business. So when we look at Bellato, he's lost 2 times, and it was to the same guy, Vitor Petrino, which you don't see very often. So you got, Petrino in 2019, and then Petrino knocks him out. So I didn't think the guy that he was fighting in Contender Series was great, but I had to give Bellato credit. He showed a lot of maturity. When he lost against Petrino, he went to LFA. He gets 2 wins. And what you're going to see from Bellato is you're going to see him push up against the fence. You're going to see him clinch. He's got decent enough cardio. He's not the most exciting fighter in the world, but he's got power. He's got some weapons. And when we're looking at Potieria, this guy, man, just I think he's going to go. I think what he's going to be remembered for is what he did in the Rua fight, where he beats Rua, does this bizarre celebration, gets ridiculed for it. So next up, they give him Carlos Olberg, who just knocks him completely out. So this guy's fought on Contender Series, and then he gets the win. But he beats Mauricio Rua, but he fights Nikolai Negumereanu, loses by knockout, fights Carlos Olberg, and loses by knockout. I think the same thing is going to happen here. Potieria doesn't have cardio. And Bellato won his fight in Contender Series, his last one. I think a big reason was because he had better cardio and he was able to get the finish in the second round. So one thing I would do in this fight is just take it to not go the distance. Potieria, if he's going to get the win, it's going to be early. It's going to be by KO. If he doesn't win, I think he gasses really quick. And Rodolfo is going to be there to take advantage. And it wouldn't surprise me if Rodolfo gets the finish maybe in round 2. If you're looking at really obscure props, maybe Rodolfo in round 2 when the props come out could be a really, really interesting look. But I'm not high on Potieria. Now, I will say this. The odds on this fight, Bellato is minus 425. That's a little too rich for my blood. So I will not be putting Rodolfo in any parlays. But I think this fight to not go the distance is a pretty safe bet, as I'm not really sure that Potieria's got the cardio to go the distance in this one. So I think Rodolfo wins, but I'm certainly not willing to lay that kind of price. Up next, wow, I love this fight. This should be really, really fun. Steve Garcia and Melquizael Costa. So here's the thing. So I already know off the bat, Costa is going to have the speed advantage. He looks really, really crisp on the feet. Great movement. He can land some really, really good body shots. So when we look at, his record, 20-6, so pretty impressive record. Loses to Thiago Moises, but that was a short notice fight. And he comes back and they give him Austin Lingo, and he wins by decision, but he put on a really good performance in that one. I was really impressed. Very, very crisp. His cardio looked fine and showed off a lot of weapons. Did not get the finish, but, that's all right. Now, Steve Garcia's plus 190, and I bring that up because he has knocked out his last 2 opponents. Knocks out Chase Hooper, knocks out Shailan Nordebeke, and this body shot that he landed on Shailan was insane. I mean, it ripped to the body, and he went down. And this is where I think Garcia has the advantage, is just in the pure power. He's going to be bigger than Melky. And so what I see happening is Melky's got the speed, Melky's got the volume, but if Garcia can push him up against the fence and work some of that body and show off some of that power, I think he can cause some real problems for Costa in this one. So I'm not going to bet Costa at minus 230, no chance. But if you do like Costa, I actually think Costa by decision is a pretty good one, because I just don't see where the finish is going to come against a much bigger Steve Garcia. So I think Steve Garcia, if you like him to win, maybe take him by KO, because if he lands those body shots or he lands some of those big shots to the head, he can absolutely knock out Costa. But anyway, it's going to be a really, really good fight. I have not gotten to the window on anything in this fight. I probably won't. So, take those props for what it's worth. Ever so, man, if I have to pick something for this video, you know what? Let's do it. Let's take Steve Garcia. I'll take Steve Garcia to win by KO. If he gets in close and he lands some of those really, really good shots, I think he can eat away at Costa and eventually get the finish. Next up, Joe Solecki and Drakkar Klose. So, wow. I want to pull up something that is really, really interesting on Joe Solecki. So look at what happened to him earlier this year. So he wins against Alex da Silva 2022. Look who he was going to fight before it got canceled. Saint Denis. And who does he fight instead? He fights Carl Deaton. So Joe Solecki goes from probably a highlight finish from Saint Denis. Saint Denis probably runs through him, crushes him on the ground, and gets a highlight finish. Instead, he drops down to fight Carl Deaton, who he submits in round 2. So talk about dodging a bullet. So that's kind of something interesting with Solecki here. So now Solecki's going to look to get the fight on the ground. He's going to look to lock up body triangles, take the back. He's going to look to eat away the clock, try and do some damage, possibly look for submissions. And he's fighting Drakkar Klose, who this is going to be Klose's 3rd fight since that crazy neck injury. And, he comes back from the neck injury. Brandon Jenkins, okay, he wins. That was a setup fight. Rafa Garcia, you can see he's starting to get his cardio back. He's starting to feel a little bit more like himself. But my concern is that Rafa Garcia took him down and held him down for big chunks of the fight. And there was one time where Garcia was on top of him and the ref stood them up. And that was such a gift to Klose, like an absolute gift. And I just saw Klose cardio start to fade a little bit on this one. And the lines are close. Klose is minus 130. Solecki's plus 110 at the time of recording this. I'm going to go with Solecki as a little bit of an underdog here because Solecki's got the cardio. Klose absolutely is better on the feet. No question. He's got the better striking. But once this thing gets to round 2, I think Solecki's going to take him down, hold him there, and I think he's going to drain the cardio of Klose. So I think Klose needs to get this thing finished in the first round. Otherwise, Solecki's going to take him on the ground and eke out rounds 2 and 3 because I just don't think Klose is going to have that cardio once he gets it to the ground. So the odds are pretty close. Should be a pretty fun fight. I always like watching Drakkar Klose, but I think Solecki at the underdog is a pretty decent little wager here. So up next, Cody Brundage and Zach Reese. But real quick, guys, do want to tell you we have a 3-day pass, instant discount down to $54. So no matter what day this week you want to use it, there's no promo code needed. Just go to wagertalk.com, click on Andy Lang's profile, NHL, NBA, NFL. I would suggest using this closer to the weekend, maybe Thursday or Friday. That way you can get all the UFC picks that we have. You can get NFL plays. It includes NBA and NHL. Off to a fantastic start in NHL. So if you want to use the 3-day pass, there's no promo code needed. Just go to WagerTalk, look for Andy Lang's profile at wagertalk.com. 3-day pass, instant discount down to $54. No promo code needed. Let's keep it going. We ran a 7-day special last week. We had a great week. Positive units, up I believe 6 or 7 units for the week. So extremely happy with that. Let's keep the good run going. Speaking of good run going, let's talk Cody Brundage. So I do not like Cody Brundage. Me and the rest of the world were against Cody Brundage in his last fight. That was about as bad as it gets. I mean, let's be honest. So Cody Brundage says he got hit in the back of the head. I don't believe it. And milks it, puts on an Oscar-winning performance, avoids his 4th loss in a row. Unbelievable to lose money in that because he was just getting his ass whooped in that one. So he's fighting Zach Reese, and Zach Reese is an interesting case because he comes from Contender Series. And Zach Reese, the problem is his fights don't last long. He has like been so much better than his opponents that he finishes them so quick. Look, he's never been out of round 1. Round one. Even on Contender Series, you would think he'd fight somebody who could fight back, and no, he just gets him in a submission. So I'm gonna go Zach Reese. I don't think Cody Brundage is good at all. And one of the worries about Zach Reese is like, well, we've never seen his cardio tested. Well, Cody Brundage is not going to test anybody's cardio. He didn't have any cardio. So Brundage is going to get tired before Zach Reese will. So I'll take Zach Reese. It's a really good price right now. I'm seeing the lines right now as Reese is like minus 238, minus 250. It's a great parlay piece. I don't think Cody Brundage has anything left in the gas tank outside of a jump guillotine that doesn't hit. So give me Reese, maybe Reese by finish in this one. So up next, I cannot believe we're breaking down a Miesha Tate fight. I seriously cannot believe Miesha Tate is fighting. And I'll be honest, I completely forgot about Julia. I really had. She hasn't fought in 2.5 years. She got pregnant and had a baby, took 2.5 years off. She's 9-2, but man, okay, she beats Stolyarenko, but we're going all the way back to 2020. She fought Eubanks. I mean, 2020, Gina laid me. What can you do with a fighter who's taken 2.5 years off? Like, the answer is nothing. So I'll make this one quick. I'm not betting anything on this fight. Nothing would surprise me. I thought Miesha Tate looked absolutely terrible in her last fight. She has no power left. This is bad. It's just not good. So stay away from this fight. Don't bet anything. I was even looking like, oh, maybe take overs, but I don't know. Does someone fall into an arm bar or a choke or something? I don't know. It's a bad look. I'm not betting anything on Miesha Tate, but I'm certainly not betting on anybody that's been out since, for 2.5 years. So this fight is an absolute stay away for me. Clay Guida, Joaquim Silva. So listen, we all know Guida. Everyone loves Guida. He's an underdog coming into this one, and I get it. He's 41 years old. He lost to Rafa Garcia, but he did beat Scott Holtzman. Lost in a crazy knee bar here. Here's the thing. I actually think he's going to win this fight. I actually think at plus 250 he's going to win. And here's why. He's just got the cardio. He doesn't stop. His last fight against Rafa Garcia, he got beat up on the feet. Nothing really on the ground. And when we look at Joaquim Silva, Joaquim Silva, he fights Tsarukyan, he loses. Congratulations. He did last, he lasted to round 3 against Tsarukyan, which is a really good finish. But look at his UFC last couple times. So he loses to Ricky Glenn by knockout, gets knocked out by Nasrat Haqparast. And so his last win since 2018 is against Jesse Ronson. And if you don't remember Jesse Ronson, Ronson tested positive for the heavy steroids, got suspended, comes back, and just gets murdered by Joaquim Silva. So it was very, very obvious he was off of the roids. I'm not really sure that Silva should be this big of a favorite at this minus 310. That's crazy. So I'm not going to lay minus 310 on Silva. I think his cardio's sharp. I think he could absolutely steal a couple of rounds in this one. I wasn't impressed with Silva. Listen, I'm not comparing Guida to Tsarukyan, but I just watched Tsarukyan hold Silva down the entire time. Does Guida have one more in me? Yeah, maybe. The line is crazy. I would absolutely take a look at 41-year-old Clay Guida, just because stylistically, I think it's a pretty decent little matchup for him, and I just don't trust Joaquim Silva. So I said there's a lot of potential underdogs in this one. I think Guida's one of them. I'll give you another underdog, Dustin Stoltzfus over Punahele Soriano. I do not trust the cardio of Soriano in the slightest, and the odds are ridiculous. Minus 270 on Soriano, no chance. So Soriano, strong guy, very powerful, but he's pretty low volume. And when his cardio goes, it goes. I mean, look at this. So he loses to Kopylov. His cardio was gone in the second round. Loses to Maximov, loses to Brendan Allen. So his one win recently is against Dalcha. Come on. All right. He knocks out Dusko Todorovic. All right, great. The last few times I watched him, his cardio is an absolute mess. And I know that Stoltzfus got creamed in his last fight. In 19 seconds, it's a terrible look, especially against somebody like Abus, who hasn't looked great since, but this fight was over just instantly. So before that, he comes off against the win against Dwight Grant, loses to Mearshart in a fight that he was absolutely winning. Then he loses to Vieira, loses to Kyle Dawkins. That's a horrible look. Basically, what I have is two fighters that I just don't think are very good. And I think Stoltzfus has the advantage in cardio, and I think he's got the advantage on the ground. So if Soriano doesn't knock him out in the first round, what am I getting from Soriano rounds 2 and 3? It's not going to be the guy with the fresher gas tank. It's not going to be the guy with the better ground game. I when you get two bad fighters like this, you can get one of them at plus 220. Yeah, I'll take it. So as dirty and like smelly as it sounds, do not be surprised if Dustin Stoltzfus ends up winning this fight as an underdog if he survives that first round. So yeah, I'll take a little sprinkle on Stoltzfus. So they're getting some of these, they're putting some of these bad fighters against each other as we end out the year. So Sean Brady and Kevin Gastelum, two fighters that are not these are not bad fighters. These are really good fighters. So I'm looking, and the odds: Sean Brady minus 130 and plus 110 on Kelvin Gastelum. I'm going to start with Sean Brady. So Sean Brady had a fight scheduled against Jack Della Maddalena, and it was just, man, was that set up great for him, as Maddalena has shown he doesn't really have takedown defense, and I think Brady was going to win that fight. However, before that, man, did he get worked over on the feet against Bilal Muhammad. I mean, that was a standing TKO. I had this fight to start round 3, so I'm 13 seconds away from winning, and I'm just looking at Bilal just teeing off on Sean Brady. I thought it was a really bad look for him. And I go back to that Michael Chiesa fight, and I thought Brady had moments where he looked bad on the feet in that fight. He gets the decision, but I thought Michael blew it. I thought he had several opportunities to really light him up on the feet. We saw glimpses of it, and he just couldn't quite get it done. So I think there's a real hole in Brady's game, and that's in that stand-up defense if he doesn't get it to the ground. So Kevin Gastelum is coming off that crazy awesome fight against Chris Curtis, man. Fight was brutal. He gets the win, and he needed it. He had lost 5 out of 6, but look who he's losing to, like Jared Cannonier and Robert Whitaker and Jack Ranson and Darren Till and Izzy, like cream of the crop. So he fights Chris Curtis. It's just a brutal fight, and I loved what he said afterwards. He was like, I had to go a hell and back and get ready for this fight. I changed a bunch of things, like you're going to see a new me. I believe him. So I'm going to take Gastelum in this one. There was something about Gastelum in that fight against Chris Curtis. I was like, wow, something's changed in this guy. He took some time off, and that striking of his, I think it's gonna wear Brady down. Brady is gonna have to get it on the ground, and you know Gastelum's been working on it like day in and day out. So I think Gastelum at plus money is a really, really good look, as I just thought Sean Brady melted against Bilal, and it wouldn't surprise me if Gastelum works the strikes and tries to keep it on the outside and pieces up Brady and ends up winning either by decision or late KO. But I like Gastelum to get it done. Guys, if you could hit the like button for me and leave me a comment, tell me what your favorite bets are on this card. If you watched the PFL video last week, wow, polarizing crowd, and they did not like our picks in the comment section. So, but hey, fire away. Leave me a comment. Tell me which picks you like, which ones you don't like. It doesn't bother me. I'm always interested to hear your guys' opinion. But if you're going to leave a comment, at least do me a favor and hit the like button. Helps the algorithm out. Rob Font versus Davison Figueroa. Figueroa is moving up in weight class, and I just don't like it. I don't like a 35-year-old moving up in weight class who's fighting Rob Font, who's going to be the much better boxer, who's going to have a big height and a long reach advantage. And here's this thing about Figueroa. Like, I mean, look at this. His last 3 fights, he's fought the same guy. And in fact, if you want to go even farther back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In his last 6 fights, he's fought 3 guys. So is he just preparing? Has he just been preparing for Brandon Moreno? And by the way, he lost two of the 3. So I don't know. He couldn't get it done against Brandon Moreno. So he says, all right, I'm going to go up in weight because I can't make this weight anymore, which is fine. But 35-year-old moving up and facing a guy who's just going to be 3 inches taller. He's going to have almost a 4-inch reach advantage. And I'm not a Rob Font fan. I bet against him heavy against Corey Sandhagen. And it was a terrible look that Sandhagen got hurt in that fight and was still able to take Rob Font down. So Rob Font's lost 3 or 4. It gets a nice win against Yanez. But, you know, his losses are against cream of the crop here. Jose Aldo, Marlon Vera, and Corey Sandhagen. So Figueroa has to get this to the ground. He has to try and expose that terrible takedown defense of Rob Font. If he cannot do that and this fight stays on the feet, Rob Font is going to keep him at distance and piece him apart. And I actually think that's what happens. I like Rob Font to win this fight. I don't understand. I don't want to say I don't understand it. I just don't believe in the move up in weight class, and I don't believe at 35 years old you're going to be better up a weight class. I think it's going to be too much. I think it's going to take him a little bit of time to figure out the size difference in this one. So I like Rob Font to get it done. Right now, Rob Font's a little bit of a favorite, but I think he gets it done. Jalin Turner and Bobby Green. Jalin Turner minus 230 and Bobby Green plus 190, and I will happily take Bobby Green at plus 190. So I did a little deep dive on Jalin Turner, who's supposedly this amazing future champion, awesome, like gonna be the next thing. This guy's 13-7. Okay, 13-7. That's not. I know some of his losses came early, but I mean, let's be honest. This guy blew it against Dan Hooker. He was winning. Let Hooker back in the fight. By the way, Hooker had a broken arm. And he loses a split decision against Gamrot, which was a very close fight. But what's his best UFC win, really? What elite win is that? Brad Riddell? Jamie Malarkey? Like Brock Weaver? Who, like, what? So I've seen Jalin Turner step up in competition, and he loses a split against Gamrot, and then he loses a split against Dan Hooker, which I still can't believe, and I guess what bothered me is it didn't even look like it bothered Jalin Turner after losing to Hooker. They were laughing, yucking it up, and I don't know. It just doesn't. I don't want that guy on short notice. I want Bobby Green. I want Bobby Green, who just absolutely sparked Grant Dawson. I know it was so quick. It's so hard to take anything away. But 33 seconds in, but he really beat up Tony Ferguson. And listen, I'm not holding the loss to Islam Makhachev against him. So he gets caught against Drew Dober. And then, he comes back and wins 2 nights. I think Bobby Green's in better shape. And I just did a deep dive on Jalin Turner. And I think he's just shockingly overvalued. He's going to try and wrestle. He's going to try and push forward. Bobby Green, his striking, I think, is going to have an impact on it. Maybe Turner gets a hold of him and can control big parts of it. But I just know that Jalin Turner should have beat Dan Hooker. He let one get away, and now he's taking this on short notice. I don't know what fight shape he's in. Is this just a nice little money grab before the end of the year for saving a fight? But for whatever reason, I just want Bobby Green at plus 190. I don't trust Jalin Turner in these big spots anymore. So. And finally, we have Beneil Dariush and Arman Tsarukyan. And guys, before we get into the last fight, once again, take advantage of the 3-day pass. Instant discount down to $54. It includes all sports, all percentages. I would wait closer to the weekend, grab it on Thursday or Friday. Then we have the NFL plays. You got the weekend plays in NBA, NHL, all of those. We're on a really, really nice run. We've hit over 57% of our bets for the last year, which could not be prouder of, and we're on a nice 22-7 all sports run over our last 29 plays. So really happy with that. No promo code needed. Just go to wagertalk.com, look for Andy Lang's profile. No promo code. Just get that 3-day pass. Instant discount down to $54. All right, let us take a look at Dariush and Tsarukyan. So these two do have a common opponent, and I don't know. What can you take away from, both of them fighting Gamrot? So Tsarukyan loses to Gamrot in an unbelievable fight. Like, that was just still one of the most fun fights I've watched. But then Dariush beats Gamrot. So, Dariush must be better. I don't know. I thought Gamrot made some mistakes in that fight, and Dariush's striking, it just made all the difference in the world. So, credit to Tsarukyan, beats Damir Ismagulov, and then, I don't know, I think a lot of people are going to look at this fight against Joaquim Silva and go, what are you doing? How could you not finish him earlier? But, Tsarukyan I thought he did what he wanted to do, which is just control it, get Silva on the ground, kind of wait till round 3, and then eventually get to finish. Like, don't get me wrong, it was a dominating performance, but you're just kind of looking at it going, man, how can you not finish that guy? And I mean, Tsarukyan was such a big favorite over Silva that everyone was betting on him to win by finish, and takes him to round 3. So I think people are going to be a little bit nervous about it. We know Tsarukyan's going to try and grapple and wrestle and just body control and, work ground and pound. And we know Dariush is just going to be better on the feet. My problem here is the price. Tsarukyan at minus 290. I just don't want to bet against Dariush. Oh, so wait, what's the fight that he lost recently to Charles Oliveira? That's the only blemish on his record. Therefore, he's plus 235 against Tsarukyan. I don't know. I mean, you got to go back to 2018 before you can find another loss. I mean, this guy beat Gamrot, Tony Ferguson, Diego Ferreira. It comes down to, can Dariush not get controlled, pushed up against the fence in the clinch? Can he land shots? Can he soften up Tsarukyan? I ever so slightly lean Tsarukyan, but at minus 290, there's no chance I'm betting this one. So if you want to do a bet on this one, I actually think this fight could go the distance. I don't see who's finishing who in this one. I don't think Tsarukyan's going to stand there and let Dariush tee off on him, but I also don't think Dariush is going to get finished by Tsarukyan, who's going to try and work the wrestling and the clinch. So I actually kind of like this play to go the distance. I think we see these two put on a pretty good show. Tsarukyan is going to be trying to really close the distance and not get into a pure boxing match. Meanwhile, Dariush is going to have to play a lot of defense so he can get his offense going. So for a winner, I will ever so slightly lean Tsarukyan, but there's no way I'm laying minus 290 on it. So I've learned not to bet against Beneil Dariush, but I do think these guys are pretty even, and I think it goes the distance. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for us for the UFC Fight Night breakdown. Please hit the like button, leave me a comment, and don't forget about that 3-day pass. Just go to wagertalk.com, look up Andy Lang's profile. Good luck on all your bets. We'll see you, everyone, next video.